Hi, I'm Brian Russell, and welcome to Deep Dive Spirituality. One of my favorite books is The Spirit of the Disciplines by Dallas Willard. And in his introduction, Willard uses a fantastic illustration about the power of habits and why it's essential to establish a set of practices that help us to receive God's grace to become the persons that God created us to be. And the illustration is this. He says, imagine your favorite athlete. He, in his book, uses the example of a baseball player who's able to step up to the plate, come off the bench, step up to the plate, face down a pitcher in the classic bottom of the ninth with runners on base, 2 outs, and the player is able to step up to the plate and get a base hit that wins the game for his team. And then he talks about how often young children will then think of their favorite athlete, and when they go out to play the same sport, will try to mimic their athlete to do exactly what he or she was able to do on the field that day. But Willard notes that no matter how gifted a young player might be, they're never going to reach the levels of the professional for one key reason. Just watching that athlete perform in the big game denies all that went in behind what that player did. And he suggests that many of us attempt to live our spiritual lives in exactly the same way. We want to be able, in a moment of crisis, to put on Christ, to be compassionate, to be calm, to be peaceful, to be loving, to be merciful, to be full of joy and gratitude. But if we haven't cultivated a way of life that allows those virtues to grow in us, when the crisis comes, something else is going to come out of us, which points us to the power of habits. Willard writes, a successful performance at a moment of crisis rests largely and essentially upon the depths of a self wisely and rigorously prepared in the totality of its being, mind, and body. I'm interested in a deep dive spirituality. And one of the fundamental things that we need to take a spiritual deep dive is to take a look at the habits that we cultivate in our lives on a daily basis. And these habits involve the totality of who we are, again, from how much we sleep to what we eat, to also taking in scripture, to praying, to having solitude practices like centering prayer or journaling or welcoming prayer. But it's to get a picture of what is it that we do, because in the long run, we're going to really be and become the habits that we embrace and practice on a daily basis. Again, I'd love to have a conversation with you about these type of things, because I think what's vital and what we miss is sometimes we go cookie cutter on what a rule of life looks like for an individual person. I'm really interested in tailor making and designing the really perfect rule of life that allows each one of us to understand ourselves at a deep level and to put in the practices and habits that can sustain us in the long run based on who we are at our core. If you're interested in that conversation, drop me a note, send me a message. Love to hear questions you might have in the comments. I'm Brian Russell, and thanks for checking out Deep Dive Spirituality.